Okay, it's 6:01. I've been asked to keep this on schedule. Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry Irving, Commander, retired U.S. Navy and a Naval Academy Blue and Gold officer, and also your host for today. I want to thank you all for joining. Senators Gillibrand and Congressman Higgins will give you their greetings in a moment. We appreciate their staffs are here in order to help you provide information. I really appreciate the fact that you're interested in a service academy. America needs to have people who are willing to serve our country. You know, many countries have mandatory military service, but we have an all-volunteer force. So the fact that you are interested in joining the service, being a leader, is a great credit to yourselves. I appreciate that very much. We have over 75 students have RSVP'd. We'll see how many show up. Because this is the subject is a military career, we'd like to take a moment. You know, next month, or actually November, is Memorial Day. So I'd like to ask us to take a moment of silence. Remember, all those who've gone before us lost their lives serving the United States. So we'll take a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you very much for that. Just a couple of logistics. So the purpose of this today is for you to learn about all of the different aspects of what it takes to be enrolled in a service academy, to know what it's like to have a military career, and understand the process to get a nomination from a member of Congress in order to be appointed to one of the service academies. So we have representatives here from each of the service academies, and they will give you a brief overview of what they're looking for, and then we'll take questions. During the presentation, if you have a question that occurs to you, use the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. You can type in a question. We had a few questions that have come in. We hope we'll be able to cover those, but we'll take the chat questions, and then you can also unmute and ask a question for us during the appropriate time, about 6:40 or so. All right, with that said, Megan, do we know if Congressman Higgins has arrived?
We're just sending him the link. Just give us a second.
Okay. Let's see if there's things that I have forgotten to tell you that I was supposed to tell you all. I don't think so. Okay. We're still seeing people coming in late. As I said, this is the purpose of this is to give you all the information you may need to be appointed, hopefully, to a service academy, and also understand what the nomination process is like, and also, even more importantly, what's it like to have a career in the U.S. military, whether it's Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Navy, Merchant Marine. And do you want to maybe perhaps do the video with the senator, perhaps, while we're waiting? Anthony, what do you think?
We could do that if that's fine with you guys.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Anthony. We have got a video message from Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.
Hi, I'm U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and I want to congratulate you for taking the first steps towards what could be a lifetime of service to our country. This event is an opportunity for students, parents, and educators to learn about the unique academic and career opportunities offered through our nation's service academies and the Reserve Officers Training Corps. Students who attend these institutions or participate in ROTC graduate with a top-tier education, strong leadership experience, a commitment to duty and honor, and a commission as an officer. Moreover, They will join a proud tradition of leadership and selfless service to our nation. As you look around the room, you will see you are surrounded by the leaders of tomorrow. As you listen to our speakers and embark on a path towards a commission as an officer, always remember the importance of your pursuit of service. Thank you, and I wish you all the best for a productive event.
Okay, very good. You know, and she led off with the point that this could be a lifetime experience for you. And for those of my colleagues here who are going to be talking in a few minutes, all of them have served in the military and can tell you how rewarding that personal experience was. What do you think, Megan? Should we carry on with the agenda? I know Brian is in Washington. Oh, there he is. There's the congressman.
Who's that, Jerry?
Yes, hello, Brian.
How are you, Jerry? Thank you again for your long-serving commitment to helping us with this endeavor, which is obviously very, very important, and to all of your colleagues, all veterans and community leaders who each and every year assist us in selecting candidates for the 5 service academies. This is the beginning of the process. As you may know, these individuals, many of whom have attended the service academies, can provide you with insight and with questions and direction and vision about what you might expect as you begin this process. As I mentioned, there are 5 service academies. My office, the Congressional District, can nominate up to 10 per service academy, and the final decision about the selection of a candidate rests with the individual academies. This is a great opportunity for young people that want to look at military service and get an excellent education in the process. I have traveled the world from Afghanistan to Iraq, to the Middle East during times of war. And the one conclusion that you always draw is the impressive nature of the United States military in these places. They're not only fighting wars, but they're also providing humanitarian services to people who are living in extraordinarily difficult circumstances. So everybody that is there tonight and that will be part of this process, you will be given an opportunity to share some of their experiences in the service academies and in the service generally of our country. I'm in Washington tonight, as Jerry had said. We're planning on voting on a major bill, a $1 trillion infrastructure bill later on this evening, which will help rebuild the roads and bridges and infrastructure of the nation. But I know that you're in good hands with the good people who volunteer their time, and you will see their dedication is underscored by their knowledge and their enthusiasm for your pursuit of the opportunity to learn at one of the 5 excellent service academies in our nation. So I thank them, all of them, Jerry and all your colleagues, for the service that you have provided and that you will provide tonight. I thank all of you for the opportunity that you give me to represent this community in the United States Congress. And finally, we give thanks to a good and generous nation that makes this day and all of our days possible. Jerry, I'll throw it back to you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Brian. That long service thing made me seem really old, but okay. I'll take it as a compliment. It was meant. Thank you.
Tenure, Jerry, not
That's right.
chronology, not chronology, kid.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to have a brief overview, 5 minutes each from each of the representatives of the service academies. And to start off, in no particular order, even though I'm very biased towards the Navy, we're going to hear from Colonel Heidi Reisman, retired Air Force, about the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. Take it away, Heidi.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this presentation. I am a retired lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force. I am an Air Force Academy grad, and I did spend time in both the Guard and the Reserve. I have children who have graduated from West Point, ROTC. I have one in the Air Force, one in the Army, and one in the Marine Corps, and a few others that are doing other various things. But as far as the Air Force Academy, and what you'll find with all of the service academies, is that it is a very rigorous program, and the application process is just the beginning. So as you're, embarking on that process, what you'll notice is they are looking for not just how smart you are or how athletic you are, but they're also looking at how you are involved in your community and are already serving. So again, all of the service academies have lots of opportunities. They all offer a great education where you can then apply that education in that military service from where either the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, or you can go to the Marine Corps. So education that you get there is not going to be a problem for anything that you want to do beyond that. But the biggest thing that you're going to have to understand about yourself is, are you willing to serve? Are you willing to put yourself out there and serve your country and your fellow classmates and the soldiers and the airmen and in your respective service in a way that puts them in front of yourself? So as you're going through the application process, you want to make sure that you are talking about yourself, that you look at those activities that you've done and you really evaluate whether your desire is to lead others in the United States military. The Air Force Academy is located in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So for most of you, that's a long way from here. If you are not exactly sure what direction you want to go or what service you'd like to be in, I always recommend that you take a look at, a trip. If you can't make it, if you're really interested in the Air Force Academy and you can't make it out to Colorado Springs, West Point and Annapolis are a car drive away. So it gives you a feel for what it's like to be part of a service academy. In addition, if you're in your junior year, they do have summer programs that are in June between your junior and senior year that also allow you the opportunity to see what a service academy is like. I will stop there, a little bit under time, and that way we can continue through, and that will allow more time for questions at the end.
Thank you, Colonel Reisman. I appreciate it. That's great. So I'm going to talk about the U.S. Naval Academy and also Navy ROTC. I want to share some pictures here from you guys. So I hope you're able to see. This is a picture of a family and a midshipman who's just been inducted into the Navy. So if you're a senior this year, that could be you standing there next July. So you can see that he's wearing his Navy midshipman uniform, a plebe uniform. Not exactly wearing his hat particularly correctly, but you see he's got his hair cut short, just like his dad, who also happened to be in the Navy. And that really great family there enjoying in I-Day. And then here you see another picture. This is on graduation day. They get their Navy uniform, and that's her mom congratulating her. Couple other things. So get used to getting up early. The sun's coming up here at Annapolis, Maryland, where the Naval Academy is located. This is physical training. They call it PT. So you get up early and you do calisthenics and you go for a run. So you have to be physically fit. And then here's a comment from a student. I was pretty decent, but I took AP and started doing other things. As Colonel Reisman was saying, for the Air Force, we want well-rounded students. So getting involved in the community, doing sports and doing academics, all that's very important. And then here's just one last thing. I'll give you, this is the class of 2023, how they did on their SATs or their ACTs and their background. We do have preparatory schools. If the academy offers you to go to a prep school, don't think it as an insult. It gives you a lot of a leg up to go into the academy the year after. It's sort of a year in between. Some students, 88 students in this case, had been already in college. So if you fail the first time, try again. It's okay to try again. So I would strongly advise you, if you're interested in Naval Academy, or I should say a career in the Navy, you should work both angles. You should apply for the Naval Academy and also for ROTC. The Naval Academy is extremely competitive selection-wise. There's over 11,000 applicants every year for 1,000 spots. So it's very hard to get in, but if you really want to serve, there's lots of different ways to do that. Like I mentioned about ROTC. I would say, you know, any type of service, really worthwhile. I've had a couple of questions here from, so were submitted in advance. I think that they weren't necessarily targeted to the Navy, but military service academy in general. I wanted to be a blacksmith. Probably better to just go to one of the military recruiters that you can find either at your high school or just look up in Google online military recruiters, and you can talk to them about an enlisted role. Same thing with someone asked about cooking. That would be an enlisted sailor, or an enlisted soldier, not someone at the military academy, one of the military academies. It's a Naval Academy in Annapolis is a great school. It's one of the top 4 educational institutions in the world. And I would just mention in competition to the Air Force Academy, the Navy actually has more planes than the Air Force does. So if you want to fly, don't think it's only the Air Force. You can think about the Navy. And lastly, if you want to be a warrior, like, you know, maybe you're thinking of the Army, the men's department of the Navy is the Marine Corps. So you can, if you want to blow stuff up and get in the dirt, you can do that in the Army, or you can also do it in the Marines. And from that, I will turn it over to, and we'll be glad to take your questions later, turn it over to Randy Garver to talk about West Point.
Thank you, Mr. Irving. I appreciate it. Hey, good evening to everyone. My name is Randy Garver. I graduated from West Point in 2000, and I was an infantry officer, you know, in that time afterwards. I want to first commend everyone, any of the young folks, high school students looking to serve our nation in any capacity. There's not a bad option here, from, you know, a service academy or an ROTC opportunity that's out there. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong getting the training and this education and then coming in and serving. And I know Mr. Irving said this earlier, but our nation, we need leaders now, but we need leaders of character in this country in the future as well. And so I'll talk just briefly about West Point. I think most people know where it's at, and you know, I won't bore you with all the stuff that's on the website, but I want to point out a couple things that isn't always apparent. It's certainly an engineering-based curriculum, as all of these service academies are. I mean, you will take the physics and the chemistry and the calculus. There's no way around that. But I would tell you, if you're interested in West Point, to look at that academic page, look at those pages, and you'll realize there's a number of majors offered in every discipline out there, from you know, English and philosophy to history and international relations to all of your engineerings and even languages and this stuff. So if you're interested, you have an academic pursuit, just don't make the mistake to think it's just an engineering school. And that's the same with all 3 of these service academies. They offer that as well. I'm not suggesting they don't. So a major, you know, multiple majors in a diverse number of disciplines. And there's the opportunities to study overseas at all of these academies, to include West Point. The military and physical development is similar, I think, in all of these places. One thing I want to mention right up front, though, is they have really emphasized the character development at West Point and the honor code and honorable living. All of these service academies do, but that's something that they put a lot more emphasis on. And one of the things I'll tell you about West Point is similar to the rest, but the small class size is something that cannot be and will not be replicated at most universities, not the service academies, but at most universities. I mean, you're talking about whether it's an international relations class, a psychology class, or an actual calculus class, probably 13 or 14 students in there with an instructor. And the instructor truly does, in my experience, cared about your personal success, cared about mentoring you. One of the things I tell you about these application process as a whole is you are better off, and I think the panel would probably agree with me, you're better off to show excellence and leadership in one or two areas than you are to be spread out with 16 or 20 extracurricular activities and clubs that you participate in, but haven't distinguished yourself in. So rather than think about, the one thing I would tell you, especially as a sophomore or a junior, is rather than have 16 or 10 clubs and things you participate in, where can you be an officer in that club? Where can you be a captain of a team? Where can you show what you need to be able to show this panel is when you're up there and around the table in an admissions panel, whether that's for West Point or the Naval Academy or the Air Force Academy or any of these is, or an ROTC scholarship panel, is what you need to be able to show them is that you have excelled at what you've tried to do. You have been a leader where you have been presented the opportunity to do so. It was brought up earlier about reapplying that Mr. Irving brought up. I can't emphasize that enough. And I tell everyone, I put 3 studs, I didn't put them in, they put themselves into the West Point class of 2025. 3 kids I'm really proud of. One's my niece. And she was far better qualified than I ever was out of high school. And the other 2 are at Buffalo. She's in Albany. I had 2 from Buffalo area. One's in his 3rd year of college going down there. And the other one is in her 2nd year, went to the prep school. And I tell you, I'm very proud of those 3, the 2 ladies and this one gentleman, because they showed grit, they showed drive. It did not work. All 3 were good candidates, and they did not quit when they were not offered an appointment right away. So I would tell you that, and I didn't get an appointment right away either. I went to, I did ROTC at Kansas State for a year and reapplied. By staying in that process, you may get offered the prep school at West Point or even a civil prep opportunity, which is basically the military academy will pay a portion of your tuition and fees to go to one of these other, like Marion Military Institute. They do this for the Naval Academy as well, and all of them. And that gets you what is called West Point calls it a letter of assurance. It secures your spot in the next class at West Point. You go down there and get the academic, military, and physical preparation. You get down there, and in my opinion, you get some maturity and emotional maturity by being away from home for a year. And you come into West Point kind of distinguished. You have distinguished yourself a little bit from your peers. Finally, the last thing I'll tell you is you'll hear it all tonight. You'll hear it all through the process. Be early on everything you do. Early on every single thing. I looked at the portal earlier this week, and for a lot of my applicants for this class of 2026, we have there's a lot of red X's and not green checks. And at some point, there could be a price to pay for that. I give you one simple example and I'll move on. What you'll find is people will delay on getting their physical in, their DODMER physical get done. When you delay that and you schedule it in December, you kind of play with fire, because if nothing bad's ever happened to you, never broke a bone, nothing, you don't have any allergies, then you might just do your physical, come back and be good to go from DODMER. But if you did, you gambled and won. If you've ever broken a bone, if you ever had anything happen to you, you're going to need remedials. So now you're sitting in December doing this. They do these remedials, get ordered up. You have to get in with their particular doctor. He or she examines you. Then he or she writes a report that goes to DODMER so they can review whether you're qualified or not. You're really messing with deadlines by not getting things done now. I've told all these folks that I'm dealing with now is it's September, and now it's October. You should be in on DODMER. So, and that goes for all of these processes. You give West Point admissions more time to work with you on any issue or hiccup along the way if you're early on it. When you're sitting there in mid and late January with the deadline of 1/31, 1/31 is the deadline. If you're sitting there in January messing with deadlines, you have possibly really hurt your position. So that's really it. I tell everyone, I did a year of Army ROTC. I loved Army ROTC. My father, one of my favorite guys in the world, was commissioned from Army ROTC. And I am not a, it's West Point or nothing guy. But I'll tell you, Army ROTC scholarship is one of the best deals you can find. And it's a phenomenal way to go to school, to get yourself trained, to have a great time and still have a great opportunity to come in and be a second lieutenant, just like you went to West Point or anywhere else. So you need to be, if you really want to be in the Army and you're applying to West Point, you really ought to be an Army ROTC scholarship applicant. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to someone that can talk far more intelligently than me about Army ROTC, and that's going to be Mrs. Sparacino. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garver. Great job. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Megan and Courtney, for allowing Army ROTC to be a part of this Academy night. As Randy said, Army ROTC is a great way to earn a commission. In fact, it's one of two ways that a student pursuing a bachelor's degree can earn a commission as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army. Army ROTC is actually the largest commissioning source for the U.S. Army and commissions about 70% of our officer corps. It's hosted at over 273 college and universities across the country, and most of those host programs have affiliated colleges that allow students to study at well over 1,000 colleges or universities across the country. So you can go where you want to school, study what you want, accept theology, and earn a commission as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army. It is considered one of the most flexible commissioning sources because you can enter it as a freshman, you can enter it as a sophomore, you have a way to lateral entry and enter as a junior once you are in your college career. Cadets participate in classroom and leadership labs, as well as that physical readiness training while enrolled at their colleges and universities. And ROTC is just fundamentally one of those courses. Each semester, students participate in field training exercises, and they have the opportunity to challenge themselves mentally, physically, and emotionally, just like the students at the service academies do. The culmination of their first 3 years of ROTC is going to be evaluated when the cadet attends cadet summer training between their junior and senior years. So it's a little different than the way the service academies are set up, but it still affords them that opportunity to validate their ability to become that commissioned officer. Students that earn a commission in ROTC can serve in either the active Army or its reserve components, the Army National Guard, or the Army Reserve. So for a lot of students that are interested in being those citizen soldiers, Army ROTC is the path to choose. If you're interested in studying nursing, you are going to look more towards an ROTC program than you would a service academy. Our program has put numerous doctors, dentists, lawyers into the U.S. Army, and students have gone through undergrad programs at colleges and universities, got phenomenal pre-medical degrees. You know, they're degrees that allowed them to petition to go to medical school and come out as Army doctors down the road after participating in an Army ROTC program. All students seeking a contract in ROTC must meet those same rigorous qualifications that students seeking an academy contract need to meet. They have to be medically qualified by DOBMERB. We do not use the MEPS physical, and I saw a question pop up. We do not use the MEPS physical for ROTC unless that student is a member of the Army National Guard or the Army Reserve and looking to do the simultaneous membership program through an Army ROTC program. Otherwise, all students are validated by DOBMERB. You don't have to take a different DOBMERB physical for each of the academies. If you indicate you're interested in several, the Department of Defense will evaluate you based on each of those service branches, what their requirements are. You may be qualified for Army service, but not for naval service or Coast Guard or Air Force or vice versa. You may be qualified for Army ROTC, but not for West Point. So sometimes little nuances happen. So it is important to understand that ROTC requires the same requirements that all the service academies require. Army ROTC scholarship applications are open for current high school seniors. They're found at goarmy.com/ROTC. Application closes on the 4th of February. So that means you have to have initiated an application no later than the 4th. You do not require a nomination to do an ROTC program. You don't really need letters of recommendation. The process to do is to compete for a scholarship is all online, and it's pretty step-by-step what you need to do. I will say that Army ROTC, I am a product of ROTC, opens doors of opportunities, and it can truly change your life and change your future. So that is all I have. Jerry, I turn it back to you.
Excellent, Mrs. Ferrastino. That was great, really thorough. Just a reminder for the participants, if you have a question, you can use the chat feature, type in a question. And thanks, by the way, Rebecca, for answering that one question. Okay, the U.S. Coast Guard, the second largest Navy in the world. We have Captain Bob Kistner here. So go ahead, Captain Kristen.
Thanks, Jerry. And thanks to Representative Higgins and Senator Gillibrand for putting on this event and their staffs for supporting it. Thank you to all you who are attending tonight. Appreciate your interest in the service academies and having exploring a career of service. My name is Captain Rob Kistner. I graduated from the Coast Guard Academy in 1999. The Coast Guard Academy is located in New London, Connecticut. It's a 4-year undergraduate degree, just like the rest. Also, essentially at no cost. Some of the other panel members mentioned summer programs and prep programs. The Coast Guard Academy also has those. You can find information available on the Coast Guard Academy's website. The Coast Guard Academy, it's a top military college and consistently ranks really high among colleges across the nation. But obviously it's a service academy, so it's a special type of college experience. And the focus of the Coast Guard Academy, like the other service academies as well, is enriching students beyond the classroom and developing leaders of character, because that's what they're trying to turn out in terms of staffing our U.S. Armed Forces with new officers, leaders of character. The Coast Guard Academy, I think, is the smallest of the federal service academies. The student body is basically just over 1,000. From my personal experience, that was a perfect size college for me. I was looking for a small college. By the end of my freshman year, I knew everyone who was in my class, and basically, by the end of 4 years there, I really kind of knew everyone who was on the college, be that the students and the professors. The benefit to me of a small college feel like that translated as well to education. So my classes in general, I don't think I really ever had a class of more than 20 students, at least after freshman year. And then I think it was no more than 30. I really appreciated that close interaction with the teachers and other members of the academy community. And in your major, you'll end up having the same instructor potentially a couple times. So you do really get the opportunity to form a relationship with your instructors within your major area. The academy has 9 majors. It's not just engineering, and the most recent major that was added a couple of years ago is a cybersecurity major. In addition to academics, the Coast Guard Academy has 26 varsity sports, and there's 50 different cadet clubs and activities on the academy grounds. The thing that I remember most about my academy experience, besides the friends that I've made and have maintained over the course of my career since leaving, is the summer experiences. So unlike regular colleges, and certainly this is true of the other service academies as well, you don't necessarily get your summers off, but you get the opportunity to learn about the Coast Guard and do a variety of interesting activities One of those summer activities for me was sailing across the Atlantic Ocean on Coast Guard Cutter Eagle, which is a 300-foot square rig sailing ship. And really an amazing experience to go for 5 weeks and go to sea and sail on an old technology sailing vessel and go and see the world. I remember at the Academy not thinking too much about what came after that, but the graduates of the Academy, about 85% of them go to a Coast Guard ship. 10% will go to flight school. We also have planes and helicopters. And then 5% will go on to other billets. What, in my view, what really sets the Coast Guard Academy apart from the other service academies is the service of the Coast Guard. So the Coast Guard is the smallest of the U.S. Armed Services. It's part of the Department of Homeland Security, not part of the Department of Defense. I've had a variety of jobs over the 22 years that I've served since I graduated. I'm still in, obviously the uniform. The role I currently serve in is a Deputy Sector Commander of Coast Guard Sector Buffalo. In this role, I oversee all Coast Guard missions on the Eastern Great Lakes and the inland waters that are federal waters. In an average year here at Sector Buffalo, we manage nearly 1,000 search and rescue cases. On average, we save about 300 lives each year and assist 1,500 others. Other roles that I've had, when I graduated, I went to a cutter. I was an engineer officer in training on board a cutter. We sailed down in the Caribbean for the most part, doing a anti-drug trafficking mission. I have served as a marine inspector, inspecting foreign vessels that are coming to engage in commerce in U.S. ports. And I have had jobs that as varied as looking at offshore wind farms and how to site them so that they won't interrupt fishing offshore and maritime trade using our nation's waterways. So the Coast Guard offers a variety of unique experiences that due to its consistent peacetime mission, you won't necessarily find in some of the other services. And it's that in those different missions that I have found extraordinarily rewarding, and also the people that you'll work with in the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard has a really an outstanding service culture, and I think as a result of that, you find that 85% we find that 85% of the Coast Guard Academy graduates actually stay on in the service and continue their Coast Guard careers. Many of them going on, like myself, to go to a paid grad school as one of their assignments. Many of the other folks mentioned the importance of being early on the applications process. October 15th is the early action deadline for the Academy. One thing I did want to highlight that's somewhat different than the other service academies, the Coast Guard Academy does not require a congressional appointment. You just apply directly, fill out the application package, and then submit that directly to the Coast Guard Academy. All right, well, thanks. I appreciate a few minutes to just talk about the Coast Guard Academy, and I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Captain. And last but certainly not least, from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, we have Lieutenant Commander, Joe Becker. Joe, please, Merchant Marine.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Commander Joe Becker. I'm the Northeast Regions Admissions Officer for the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. Quick disclaimer, I did not go to the Merchant Marine Academy. I actually went to the fine institution across the river known as SUNY Maritime. I completed ROTC there, and I received my deck license. So the moral of the story is there's multiple ways to the top of the mountain. There's many, many great programs out there. You've had some great speakers tonight. Highlight them all. But case in point, myself, like I said, I work here now, but did not go to school here. One thing I tell all of our candidates, if you're applying to one academy, one program, you should be applying to all of them. If you're a high caliber candidate, you're motivated, if you have the grades to get into one academy, you should apply to all of them. The reason being is we're all looking for the same types of people, motivated, great grades, extracurriculars, et cetera, et cetera. but at the end of the day, there's only so many of you out there. All right. So what does that mean? As long as you're not fixated on one program or one academy, chances are someone's going to pick you up and give you an offer. So just please keep that in mind in your college search. Understand Merchant Marine Academy, we are located in New York. We're on the North Shore of Long Island. We're outside New York City. Beautiful scenic view. We are operated by the Department of Transportation versus the Department of Defense. We're amongst the smallest of academies. Between us and Coast Guard, we duke it out every year between who's the smallest. And Coast Guard is also a big rival as well, so please understand that. Our mission is to educate and graduate leaders of exemplary character, just like all the other academies. But there's a caveat to that. We not only have a national defense mission, we also have a marine transportation and economic mission. And we satisfy that via the awarding of what we call the Triple Crown to all of our graduates. And we're the only academy that offers the Triple Crown. And that consists of the Bachelor of Science degree, Military Officers Commission, as well as the Merchant Marine license as either a third mate or a third assistant engineer. All right. If you're not familiar with the maritime industry, don't think of it so much as a branch of the military. We do have, again, a defense mission, but the Merchant Marine is more of a career field. So many great career fields out there for you to choose from, law enforcement, health service, entertainment, et cetera, et cetera. Maritime shipping is one of those career fields. If you're not familiar, the Merchant Marine is tough, it's demanding, but it can be very rewarding as well as very lucrative. The average starting salary out of here is over $100,000 a year. We have 100% job placement within 3 months of graduation. So tremendous opportunities. We're also the only academy that offers you the option to pursue active duty service or reserve service. You can also pursue any branch of the military you choose. So you're not locked into a single career track like the other academies. You have options and opportunities after graduation, and you're free to explore them all. Understand all of our students go to sea for 1 year on aboard commercial vessels. We call it Sea Year. It's the crucible of our program. Phenomenal opportunity to travel, to see the world. The average student will visit between 15 and 20 countries while they're a student, get paid about $1,000 a month. So tremendous opportunity. It's on aboard U.S. flag vessels. We don't send you out there alone. We pair you up with a shipmate. Likewise, it's not 1 year consecutive. We split it between your sophomore and junior year. So again, Sea Year, it's the greatest paid internship study abroad program there is. I can't say enough great things about it. Understand academics. We're a very STEM-focused curriculum, very STEM-focused academy. We have 5 majors in total. I have 2 in marine transportation, 3 in marine engineering. So if you're looking to do something that's outside the realm of what we're teaching you here, that's great. You can do that after you graduate and satisfy your service obligation. But for the time you're here, we're teaching you how to be a military officer as well as a subject matter expert in maritime shipping. As I mentioned, you do incur a service obligation following graduation, just like all the other academies, but how you satisfy that obligation is up to you. And this is very, very important. The majority of our graduates, about 70% or so, are going to choose a career in the maritime field, work about 5 years. They have to maintain their license for at least 6 and serve in the Navy Reserve for 8 years. All right, so this time is all served concurrently. Within 8 years of graduation, they would have satisfied their obligation. It's very important to note reserve service for our academy. It's 2 weeks per year only. All right. The reason behind that is 2 weeks per year for 8 years. The reason behind that is if you're actively working in the maritime field, you're not going to be able to commit to doing the weekend or select reserve drills. So that's why our contract or obligation is written the way it is. Likewise, you can pursue active duty service in any branch of the military you choose, including the Coast Guard. I don't know why you would, but it is an option available to you. 5-year commitment in the active duty. We can promise you'll probably get the service you want. Now, with that said, I cannot promise you what MOS you're going to, or a designator or a career field. We can't promise that. Most academies can. If they're telling you your freshman year, they can guarantee a career track. I take some hesitancy there. With that said, though, we can, again, promise you the service you want, and it's up to you, what job you're going to end up getting, and that's determined by, hey, need you the service, your GPA, the courses you took, how motivated you are to pursue career tracks. I will tell you, if you're looking at aviation, certainly consider the Merchant Marine Academy. We put pilots in all the services, Army, and the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, Air Force. That'll be something to consider. Our application entry requirements are very, very comparable to other academies. There's a few different caveats I do have to point out, though. We do require the SAT, ACT like everyone else does. We super score the test. We'll try to give you the best score possible. But my advice is to take the test at least 3 times. What I've seen in doing this position, I've been in this position about 5 years now, is if you take the test 3 times, there's generally going to be a fluctuation. We're going to see a difference in the scores. I've never seen anyone take the test 3 times and get the same score all 3 times. That just doesn't happen. So peace of mind. If we see you take it multiple times, it tells me that you're motivated. It tells me that you're interested. Likewise, we do require the CFA. If you
30
take a
seconds,
CFA,
Joe.
okay, CFA is required. Pass, fail, we don't care. DOBRB, make sure you get your DOBRB done. All right. Nominations, hey, they're always every office has them available. Apply early. And someone touched on it before. If you don't get in the first year, reapply again. 25% of our students are transfer students. They came somewhere else. Stay motivated, stay positive. We're here for you. And don't be a documents hoarder. As soon as you have something, turn it in.
Great job. I'm
right.
sorry to have put you last. I apologize for that.
That's all right.
And thank you to all the panelists for their information. But we're not done yet. We're going to take questions. And I have a few that have come into the chat. So the first one from Kay Johnson was, how much influence does a letter of recommendation have in the admissions process? And Colonel Heidi Reisman's going to handle that one.
So as part of the admissions package, letters of recommendation are some of your teachers. Additional letters of recommendation can be submitted. And depending on what they say, they can hold some weight. But the main letters of recommendation that are going to be looked at are those from your teachers.
Great. Thank you very much. Another question was, what's the youngest age? 17 and a high school graduate.
To jump in just on briefly on the letters of recommendation
Sure.
for West Point, they're not, the school official evaluations are required. Those are part of your packet. But the there's no letters of recommendation required, but I was told by admissions that on a borderline candidate, if they're making the decision between one or two, that they can help to influence. So bottom line is, if you have letters of recommendation, they're strongly written, submit them. That was the guidance from admissions about a year ago.
Yep. And of course, for the nomination process, I think there's also letters of recommendation that will be received to the member of Congress. There's another question here, actually two questions. Raven asked, can you go to college and still be in the reserves? The answer is yes. Usually not, as we're not talking about now. If you're in a service academy or in the ROTC, that's not in the reserves. You're in ROTC, you're a reserve officer training, or you're in a military academy, but you can enlist in the service and have a delayed entry and go to college. So that you would talk to a recruiter about that. Okay. And the same thing, also Raven asked, does everyone go to tech school after basic military training? Again, best answered by a recruiter. It kind of depends on what you have the arrangement was when you enlisted. But again, that's not related to being attending a service academy, which is our main focus tonight. Okay. Also, another question that came up. Do you need to be 100% in shape to join the military, or can you get in shape during training? So I would say you better be probably 95% in shape. They're gonna push you in the beginning. I showed you some pictures of calisthenics when the plebes come into Naval Academy, and you're just gonna have a miserable time if you're not in shape. You're gonna have all kinds of other things coming at you, how to wear a uniform, all of the different rules you have to follow. So if you're in shape, that's one less hassle. So that's my answer. Anybody want to add something?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to, you're going to have some minimal level of conditioning to pass that CFA. And that's the purpose of the CFA, right? Is to ensure that you can come to the Naval Academy or Air Force or any of these and be successful and complete the curriculum. One, you could easily hurt yourself if you're not physically fit. It'll cause injury. And then the other thing, as Mr. Irving said, is now you're going to be focused on fitness and keeping up, not on what we're trying to train you. You're not focused on your training, you're focused on your fitness. So that's the purpose for it. There was a question there about, weight waivers and this kind of stuff. I mean, any medical waiver is handled by the Service Academy themselves, and it's handled for a candidate that has a high probability of gaining an appointment. And so the reality is, if you need a waiver, not just weight waiver, if you need a waiver for anything, you need to be one, highly admissible, likely to get admitted. And then two, it's up to the service academy to let you to grant you that. But the likelihood is if you probably will not be successful on the CFA is what I would offer, that it's going to be very hard to pass the candidate's assessment if there's a issue like that.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. And you just answered Marissa's question about when to take the CFA. It's better to be in shape and make sure you pass it. A couple of questions for the Congressman's staff. In what year of high school should I apply for nomination? And also, I'm 15 now. When I apply to the Congressman, I will be 16. Is that a problem? Megan?
So, hi, I'm Megan from Congressman Higgins' office. We accept nomination applications your senior year, well, junior into senior year. Deadline is October 29th for seniors. So that would be for the class of it's for the graduating class of 2022. What was the second question, Jerry?
It was about, I'm going to be 16 when I apply, for a nomination. You still have to be 17 when you get appointed, right? And
Right.
high school.
Yeah, but you may be 16 when you're applying, I guess.
Yes, that's the answer. Another clarifying question about age. 17 for ROTC, right? Rebecca, you want to take that?
Yeah, minimally you can be 17, but if you are offered a contract at that age, then a parent has to consent. So if you're under the age of 18, a parent has to co-sign your contract.
Thank you. Another question, what is the purpose of an LOE? Marissa asked.
Yeah, yeah, sure. The letters of encouragement. What happened was years ago, West Point started sending, and I think the Naval Academy does as well, is they have the letters of assurance and then these letters of encouragement. The letters of encouragement are simply a statement from West Point admissions to the candidate saying, hey, we're looking at you and we find you to be highly competitive. And that's it. So it's telling you to stay fired up and keep seeking completion of your packet. So what happens is people don't hear anything from West Point. They assume there's nothing that it's basically telling you to please keep plugging away and getting this packet toward completion because they find you to be a competitive candidate. And then you have the letters of assurance, which says, hey, the spot for you in the West Point class of 2026 is assured as long as you do the following things, which is the same thing, as long as you pass your candidate fitness assessment, as long as you are nominated, as long as you are DOD-MERB qualified. So the difference is. So if you have an LOE, it basically is West Point admissions saying, we're looking at you and we find you to be very competitive. That's it. And that's not sent to everybody in the portal that is considered competitive. So I would tell you, if you got one, to get to plugging away at getting that file moved to completion.
All right. If someone wants to ask us a question verbally, you can use the reactions button on the lower part of your screen, raise your hand, we can call on you. Or you can, again, type in a chat. I'm looking to see if any hands are raised. I'm thinking you guys know how to do this, right? Because you did this all last school year, right? Zooms. I'm looking, don't see any hands raised.
Hey, Jerry, I'll talk for 1 second on, I saw in the questions that were submitted early, a lot of questions about medical stuff, one about being a PA, one about.
Yes.
Yeah, I can tell you that this is, I say this every year because, inherently we get, very intelligent young people coming to these and having interest in ROTC and academies. I will tell you that to attempt to go to West Point to be a doctor is a exceptionally narrow field. It's an exceptionally narrow door to try to wiggle your way through. the purpose of West Point from the perspective of the Department of the Army is to commission officers into the Army. Because they were losing candidates, because they weren't doing many medical people, they'd say, okay, fine, we'll let a couple of you go. I would tell you, out of a class of about 1,000 or 1,100 graduates each year, there's under 20. It's going to be between 10, 12, 13 students who are going to med school. So you have to be a chemistry life science major. You have to really excel within that major, and then you have to really excel on your MCAT, and you still have the Department of the Army kind of not wanting to let you do it. So I would tell you this, I told a family member this, so I'm not just, offering this because I want everybody to be an infantry guy or something, but I would tell you that the best way to do that is to go to get an undergrad degree somewhere and then go to med school. And while in med school, contact all of the branches, contact the Air Force, Navy, and the Army. And you play kind of we make a joke, you play, let's make a deal. And let's figure out how much debt, med school and undergrad debt, the Army will cover for 4, 6, and 8 years of service. If you go to a service academy, you still have your service academy obligation. You still get additional obligation for med school, and the Army gets a say in what type of medicine you will practice. And so I think they tend to let them have, move in the direction they want, but never forget, you'll move at the needs of the Army as to what type of medicine you'll practice and where you'll do it at. So in many ways, you're better off if you want to be a PA or a doctor to do this sort of on your own and get yourself through school, into school and through school, and contact the Army to say, or the Navy, and say, hey, how much debt will you pay? And they will. And for some people that are into neurosurgery and cardiac stuff, they'll probably pay more than they would for other specialties, right? So that way you as a student and as a new doctor have more leeway, more ability to control your destiny as to what you do in the medical field. So if you're very much determined to be a medical provider, I wouldn't recommend to a family member to go to West Point.
I just want to interject. I will say that we have had a number of students go through an Army ROTC program and go on to medical school on a health professional scholarship. They commissioned as a second lieutenant, received an educational delay to go to medical school. So that is another path. And we do work hand in hand with the Army medical recruiters for that health professional scholarship. We've had students that have had their entire education paid by the Army, both undergrad and medical school, and come out as Army doctors. So there are some other paths. The ROTC is probably a better path than a service academy. I think that's what Randy was trying to say.
Yep. Well, I would definitely agree with that. If you're trying to do medical, I wouldn't show up at West Point. You have very much limited your leeway. Yes.
Yep. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Heidi, there's a question about the Space Force. Would you like to say something about that, Colonel Reisman?
Sure. So the Space Force, which is, the brand new branch of the military, only has about 16,000 people. Right now, from the Air Force Academy, less than 100 graduates are going into Space Force. So it is very competitive. I had seen another question that was asking about flying from the Air Force Academy. About 50% of the graduates will go into some sort of flight school. That could be drones, it could be fighters, it could be, tankers, but about 50% of the graduates will go to flight school of some sort.
Yeah.
So
Naval Academy, it's more like 10%. So it's tough to get into that.
Yeah. So I would say Space Force is tough to get into, very competitive flying. Lots of people, if they're physically qualified to fly, will be able to go to flight school from the Air Force Academy.
Yep. A couple other really quick questions. If a teacher was in one of the services, does their letter of recommendation count more? A little bit, not much. I mean, it's more about what you've done that the teacher's describing, not what they've done. So probably not a lot. Does the Naval Academy work with NCIS? Hopefully not, because that means they're investigating somebody in the service. No, it's not a path to the NCIS if you want to be in the Naval Academy. All right, you could go with that. There's a job after you served in the Navy if you wanted to, but it's a good show on TV though. Okay, we are out of time. I want to thank you all again for your attention and for your interest. And again, I want to thank the panel. You all did a wonderful job. Joe, next time we're going to put you first, I promise, the Merchant Marine. My dad used to take me to Kings Point all the time on Long Island to see football games. Megan, Anthony, thank you so much for hosting this. Please give our regards to the Senator and Congressman Higgins. With that, we are out. Goodbye, everyone. Good luck.